I'll answer those. Otherwise, we'll get going through this so I can let you spend a little bit of time doing your homework here. Okay, make sure you're doing that. All right, Unit 6, Lesson 10 here. This part dealing with car loan and lease payments. Car loan and lease payments. So obviously, as of right now, maybe, hopefully, you're able to afford a car right now. Some of you probably are looking into buying a car. It's your senior year. I think I bought my first car my senior year. Bought a truck from my uncle for, how much did I buy it for? For $2,500, $2,500. Bought a Chevy Silverado. I can't even say it. But that was my first little vehicle, big old truck here. So hopefully, you're probably in the process of working and trying to earn money to buy your car and go from there. So what is it? So one option you do have, which I would not suggest for you guys right now, would be to take out a loan to buy a car. Okay, it's better to buy the car for cash. All right, I would always suggest that. Buy it for cash and avoid any kind of payments. But sometimes you get in a pinch or a bind where you might not have all the money up front, but you can afford some payments and you need the car in order to get to work. So you have to kind of finance a car in order to take care of it. So the first option is to buy it for cash as much as you can, because you're going to save a lot of money. And you don't want to finance something that's going to deteriorate in value. The difference between financing a house and financing a car is typically a house will grow in value over the course of year. Okay, as most houses do, they grow in value. Okay, so if you finance this, at least you're getting some growth to it. The thing with the house, it's not going to decay in value. All right. Whereas when you buy a car, as soon as you take it off the lot or drive it for a year or whatever, it's going to depreciate in value. So taking out a loan for that is not suggested. But that's what a lot of people do, and sometimes you have to. But try to buy it for cash. So the formulas that we learned yesterday will still be the same for today. So amount financed, total of all payments, total finance charge, and total pay. All right, all those formulas that we learned yesterday and familiarized ourselves with are going to be the same today. We're just shifting from a house to now a car. So we have Christina is about to purchase a vehicle, a new one, priced at $32,000. Her bank has approved it for a 5-year loan at 5.75% interest rate. So Christina's first option is she makes a down payment, and she does not make a down payment. So if she makes no down payment, she buys the car for $32,000. What is the amount financed? Just like yesterday, where the person's buying a home and does not make a down payment. So if she doesn't make a down payment, Christina, if she doesn't make a down payment, then she's going to be financing the whole thing. Let me erase that part. So she's going to be, the amount financed is the whole thing. In this case, it will be $32,000 because she's not putting anything down. So she's going to be paying the whole thing with her loan. So what is Christina's monthly payment in that case? Remember, the bank offers her 5.75%. That's the interest rate there. The bank's going to be collecting here. She's going to do this for 5 years, 5.75% here. So 5 years here. She's going to be making payments every month. So that's 12. And so we need to do 5 times 12. So she's going to be making 60 payments. All right, so 5 times 12 is 60. She's going to make a total of 60 payments. The present value. Now remember, we're going to enter this in as a positive because the bank's going to give her $32,000. Okay, so her present value is $32,000. It's going to be entered as positive. Her future value is $0. Okay, we want to figure out how long she's going to pay this off in 5 years. We want it to be $0 in 5 years. So what is her payments like? Well, just use that old TVM solver. Hopefully you're used to this by now. So let's see here. Go to apps, finance, TVM solver. Let's put in this information. So 5 times 12 here. For capital N, her interest is 5.75. I'll change that. Let's see here. Her present value is $32,000. The payments is what we're looking for. We'll skip that for now. Her future value want to be 0 and 1212, and we're going to have a payment at the end. All right, so let's figure out our payment option. I'll enter, and there it is. So she will be paying $614.93 or 94 cents. 614 and 94 cents is her monthly payment for this. So let's go ahead and calculate these things here. The total of all payments, finances charged, total paid here for this. So what's the total of our payments? Well, she's making a payment of $614. And so she's making 60 payments. Here's our payments. And each payment is $614.94. And so if I calculate that, 60 times 60, 614.94. You get 36,896.40. Nope. There's the total of all her payments. All right, now we want to take the difference of what the bank gave her and see what the finance charge, what the bank charged her for loaning out that money was. That would be part B. And so her finance costs, the total finance costs, is equal to the total of all payments, which is $36,896.40, minus what the bank gave her, and the bank gave her $32,000. Okay, it's the difference between the two. Yes, she did pay the bank $36,000, but the bank did give her $32,000. So what's the difference there? She paid more to the bank than the bank gave her. So there's a difference there. So if I subtract from this $32,000, you get $4,896.40. So this is what the bank charged her, $4,000, in order to receive that $36,000 or $32,000. I apologize. And so at the end of the day, what was the total cost of the vehicle? So we can refer back to our thing, the total of all payments. So you get the total cost, so you just the total of all payments plus the down payment. Now, in this case, there was $0 down payment here. So at the end of the day, it's just the total of all payments, which we see is $36,896. And so the total cost is equal to $36,896.40. There's that. Now, if I had put a down payment, I would put that there as well. But there it is. Okay. For this part, she buys a car. We figured out her monthly payments of $614. Figured out what she's going to pay. The total of all payments being $36,896, where the bank's going to charge her $4,896 for borrowing that $32,000. And so the total cost of her purchasing that $32,000 car is now $36,000. Okay. And so that's one option for Christina here. And really it's the same as yesterday, except for instead of a car today, yesterday was a house. All right. And typically with cars, you're not going to have a 30-year loan on a car. It's going to be 5 years or less. But you're not going to get a 30-year note on a car. All right. So with that, here's another scenario. Christina is about to purchase a new vehicle. Again, $32,000, same thing. The bank approves her for a 5-year loan for 7.75% interest. So this time, Christina's second option is to make a 10% down payment. Now let's calculate the following. So now we're in the same shoes, but this time she's going to put 10% down. So how will that affect her payments, the total of all costs, and the finance charge from the bank? So this is the first part you have. So before you begin anything, you need to calculate what she's going to put down. In this case, 10%. 10% of this whole thing. So what is 10% of 32,000 here? So before I even want to do A, I want to figure, which is dealing with the finance, how much she's going to finance. I want to find the down payment. Okay, I'm going to come over here and just calculate the down payment first. Now this one's kind of easy. This is 10% of 32,000. So if you do quick math here, that would be $3,200. But if not, you just in the calculator you would do 32,000 times 0.1, and there it is, 3,200. 32,000 times 0.1. And so our down payment is $30,200. She's going to put that down first. And so for her finance, the amount financed is going to change. In the last one, she financed the whole thing because she didn't put a down payment down. Now she's going to put a down payment. So the amount financed is equal to the cash price for the car, $32,000, minus her down payment of $3,200.
Excuse me, Mr. Caps, can I ask you something?
Yeah.
So when you get like a loan, a student loan, how does that work? Like, do they figure out what college you go to and then just give you all the money out flat?
The way student loans work? Yeah, it's going to be a little bit different because the government's kind of involved in student loans, or sometimes the government's involved in student loans. But oftentimes, if you get like a government student loan, then what will happen is you apply for the student loan, and when you're at college, you'll say, hey, you've been approved for this. The government say, hey, you've been approved for this much student loan, and I guess the finance people at the school will apply it to your account. And then once you're done with school, then you start paying that loan back, if that makes sense. Okay, so with With student loans, there's no down payment usually made. Okay, typically, you'll pay whatever you can, and then whatever you can't pay, they'll take that principal and apply it to a loan, and then at the end of your schooling, you'll have to pay that back. Although there are two different types of loans that you'll learn in college, and I forget which one's which are the names, but there is one loan where you do not incur interest while you're in school. Okay, and that's typically the one you want, because you don't want to incur interest while you're in school here. You only incur interest after you stop being a full-time student. Now, the other loan in college is where you do incur interest while you're in school. So you don't have to pay it back while you're in school, but you are going to be incurring interest on that loan for your school. And then when you're required to pay it back, start paying it back when you're done with school. So those are the two types of loans. But on student loans, yeah, there is no down payment that you usually make for it. Usually it just take whatever your balance is from the school and just apply it to the loan. Okay? So, but a good question. That's going to be important for you guys, especially those who go into college, trying to figure out how you're going to pay for it and the loans there for it. So, but don't get in too much debt in college. What is Christina's monthly payment here? So now let's see here. She's going to be paying, again, 5 years is the loan amount. For 5 years, she's going to compound it 12 times a year. So that's 60 payments, again, just like before. The interest rate is still the same, 5.75%. Her present value has changed. Now she's only financing, I'm sorry, I never figured out the amount financed here first. Can't skip that. So 32,000 minus 3,200 gives me 28,800. This is how much she's financing now. And again, that's going to be a positive when I put it in a TVM solver, because that's given to me from the bank. Trying to figure out the PMT, her future value we want to be 0, and she's doing 12 payments a year. So let's calculate that. Get to her, see, so 60, that stayed the same, that stayed the same. Her present value's changed now, it's $28,800. PMT, we're trying to figure out, that's the same, that's the same. All right, so let's figure out her payments now. It went from 614 to 553. 553, I forget how many cents is applied to it, 44 cents. $553.44 is her payment. So it's dropped from the last one with a 10% down payment. She went from 614 to 553. About a $60, $70 difference there. So let's figure out the total of all payments again. So she's going to make 60 payments, that's right here, at 553 and 44 cents. And so we're going to calculate that. So 60 times 553 and 44 cents gives me 33,206 and 40 cents. There's the total of all her payments. All right, now we'll go to her finance cost here. So to get the finance cost, we take the difference between the total of all payments. So the total she paid was 33,206 and 40 cents, minus what the bank gave her, which is 28,800. And so her finance costs. So I'm going to take that and minus 2,800 here. 28,800. There it is, 4,406 and 40 cents. $4,406 and 40 cents. And so at the end of the day, how much did she spend on that 32,000 car now? So the total cost for our total cost, well, she paid $33,206.40 to the bank. All right, that's the total of all payments, plus the down payment she paid on the car as well at the very beginning, which was $3,200. So if I sum those up, now
You're muted.
there we go. I guess that's better. Sorry about that. Sorry, my computer died here, or didn't die, it just shut down kind of for us. So we'll get back into it. So we're calculating the total cost here, which is the total of all payments plus their down payment. So let's see here, 33,206 and 40 cents plus 3,200. There's her down payment. So now the car is going to cost her 36,406 and 40 cents. And so now you can compare here. How much paying the down payment affects your loan? So the total cost here was $36,000, whereas the total cost without the down payment was still $36,000. So we're looking at that's $800, and this is about a $400 difference here between the values of the car with a 10% down payment paid, which is really not too much, to be honest. And so as you get into maybe having to take out a loan to make a car, those are things you have to waive here. Maybe you really desperately need that $3,200, that down payment right now. You're really stretched for money. You can't make a down payment. Well, yeah, you're going to have to do option A, where you don't have a down payment. And it's really not going to hurt you too bad in the long run. It's a difference of $400 over the course of 5 years here that you're paying extra for that car. But if you have $3,200 to spare, you would be saving $500 on your car there by simply paying, $3,200 straightforward down. All right, and if you can pay more, you'll be still saving, more dollar. If you can pay the whole thing, this is how much you would be saving at the end of the day: $4,000 off that car. So, the more you put down, the more you're going to save from the less your finance cost is going to be, which is ultimately the goal. All right, so last one here. Christina is now given a lease option. What is leasing? Leasing is similar to renting. You don't own the car. Okay, like you're going to go rent a car or like you're leasing a house. Like some people don't purchase a house, they go in and say, they would lease the house, they don't own it, they just rent it out. They pay $1,000 a month on the house or to rent the house. So there's that option where you just lease it. This option has a 3.25% interest rate for 2 years and no down payment. The estimate value of the vehicle in 2 years is $20,480 here. So if Christina takes the lease option, calculate the following here. What is Megan's? Okay, well, I think that should be Christina's monthly payment on this car lease if she does it. What is Megan's monthly payment on the car lease if she takes the lease option? All right. All right, give me just 1 second to make sure, I get this right and not fooling you here too much. All right. All right, so remember here, the car has a value here. Okay, I guess I was right. So the car has a value here of $32,000 is the car value. Just to remember what that is. And so when we get to capital in here, we are making monthly payments or compounding 12. So we'll put 12 there and 12 there. Okay. The option has a 3.25% interest rate, 2 years. So she's only leasing this car for 2 years. So we're going to multiply that by 2 years there. Her interest rate is 3.25%. All right, let's deal with the present value and the future value. Things are going to change. So the present value is $32,000. She's going to be given, so we're going to make this a positive. She'll be given that $32,000 car. Now the thing is the future value. The future value. All right, it's like she's going to pay the loan on this car for 2 years. All right, so the estimated value of the vehicle in 2 years is $20,480. So that is going to be the future value of this car, $20,480. So we're going to, I guess I'll put this present value as a negative there, because we're going to act like she's buying the car for $32,000 and then she's going to sell it back to the people for $20,480. So now what is her payment option here? How much is our payment? And so you got to imagine she goes to the dealership. She is going to lease the car from the dealership. So the dealership gives her a $32,000 car. They let her drive for 2 years. And at the end of that 2 years, the car will be worth $20,480. She's going to give it back to the dealership. Okay. All she has to do is pay the difference there for that, plus interest. So the difference is at about $12,000 plus the interest of 3.25% here. So what is her payment going to be here? Let's go to our So she's going to do this for 24 payments. She's going to make 24 payments of the 60 at 3.25%. Is she's going to buy this car for $32,000, and we're trying to figure out a payment. The future value is going to be $20,480, and that's going to be 12 and 12. And so this case here, her payments are going to be $551.89. And so what is the total of all her payments for this? So the total of all payments is equal to, well, she's going to make 24 payments here at $551.89. And so let's do that. Be $13,245.36. So at the end of the day, she's going to give the dealership $13,000 to lease that car to her, for her to rent that car for 2 years. 2 years. So what is the total finance cost here? The total finance cost is the total of all payments minus what the bank gave her. Well, the problem with this is she returns the car back to the dealership after those 2 years. So she doesn't get to keep anything. So we have to omit this question here. It's not applicable to this situation here. And so the last part here is, what is the total cost of the vehicle? So the total cost, again, is the total of all payments, $13,245 and 36 cents. This must include, apparently we forgot to mention this, a $400 restocking fee. So you return it back, they have to clean it up, tag it up, and put it back on the market here. So that's going to cost the dealership some money. So they're going to charge you $400 to restock that item here, that product. And so we're going to add 400. So the total price of this car will be $13,645 and 36 cents. That's if you lease it. Now, understand, you still have a balance on the vehicle if you lease it. You don't get to keep, you basically spent $13,000 to drive a car around. But you don't get to keep the car, so you don't get to sell the car and make $20,000 off of it, whatever it might be. And so now you can kind of think about things a little bit differently here. So for this leasing the car, let's think about it this way. Let's kind of compare some things here before we leave here. So if I lease this car, let's divide that by 2, because so that means every year I'm spending $6,822 for this car, to drive this car. All right, now, and that's it. If I buy the car, okay, yeah, it's going to cost me more money, $36,406. But then if I divide that $406. All right, so if I divide that by, 5 every year, that costs me $7,281 to drive this car here, All right, it is more money, but the problem is if I multiply that by 2 years, okay, so at the end of 2 years, I spent this much money, $14,562.50. But how much is this car worth if I sell it? $20,000. And so let's say I sell the car here now for $20,000. I make $20,000. So I spend here $14,562.50 and driving the car around for 2 years on my loan. and then I'm going to sell the car here for $20,000, 480. Well, I've just actually ended up in the profit area of $5,917. Okay, so I actually made a profit off of driving the car around a little bit. $5,917. Okay, so at least I can make some money, don't lose all my money here. Whereas this, you just lost $13,000. That's it. Whereas in the other one, you could take that $5,000 and put it towards another car. All right, so with that, that's the conclusion to this buying loans. We looked at buying it without a down payment, buying it with a down payment, and kind of look at a lease option as well, just renting a car for 2 years and how to calculate that. So if you take a look at your homework here for this lesson, let's see here. Here we go. Here it is right here, homework 6.10, day 2. All right, so you'll do the same thing. You have a scenario where the first one you make no down payment. Next one you put 10% down. And finally, the third one, you're going to lease the car here with this third thing. I believe, yeah. Megan, what if Megan's monthly payment on these car lease? So we have a lease option. And then we have another scenario here where you not make a down payment, make 20% down payment, and then a lease option for Scott. Okay. This homework is due tomorrow, Friday. So I'll give you some time, give you the last 20 minutes of class to work on this assignment. It's due tomorrow, Friday. And that's really all I got for you for 610. So go ahead and start working.